Hey everyone, it's been a little while because I haven't doing a lot of stuff and haven't uploaded because the reasons I do a lot of things and especially the recent firehouse burning in Vivala, where I used to live in here in Örebro in Sweden. I just moved between late 2011 to 2016, but now I live in a different house. As we'll call this video, but as today since 2016. But yeah, and it's so sad. And Vivalla was our hometown in Örebro in Sweden. So yeah, it's so sad that maybe we'll build a house someday. It gonna be happening. So there's that. Anyway, but I'm back and let's continue making videos despite a lot of things that you're doing. So yeah, this is so it's time for the film and TV news video today. I will talk about the biggest surprise of Netflix in history. Now, in case you don't know, K-pop Demon Hunters become the huge successful animated film on Netflix, overtaking Pneumonia, where the film was originally set up at Blue Sky Studios, but then 20th Century Fox and especially Disney bought 20th Century Fox, later 20th Century Studios, decided to shut down the film studio entirely, and then the movie got unfinished. It's like this is pre Coley versus Acme situation, but then the Annapurna Pictures, the Megan Ellison's production company, bought the movie and eventually on the really and eventually saved Neuronia, and it was eventually released by Netflix. And in fact, it's produced by the subsidiary with Annapurna Animation, led by former Blue Sky and Disney executives. So yeah, I know this is going to be a revival, but in the same way, like the Skydance Animation was run by, I'm not saying this guy, but okay, fine, John Lasseter. God damn it, no, not the oh god, John Lasseter is a guy who would literally save Pixar, and now he's an idiot. Anyway, yeah, so still, I think the reason that Namoya was going to save the studio because Annapurna, because the problem. This is a pre Paramount Skydance merger. Like her brother David Ellison was doing that. But anyway, he had also have the different companies that as Skydance Animation and Annapurna Animations. Could business? I think so. But anyway, I have mentioned, K-pop Demon Hunters become the most successful anime Netflix movie of all time. And so well, the Netflix decide, along with Sony Pictures Animation, decide to release in theaters with a twist. Yeah, because the gonna be had a sing along version, which came released in theatrically because children, mostly at K-pop stands, watching this big film, and it was made for the K-pop's audience, and it worked. It was become the movie was become the number one in the box office at the $20 million at the box office weekend. Was the last week, so that tweet is a few days ago. But I probably know that last week because ticket days, but only on the Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, but yeah, I know that Netflix was not because they're so happy that Netflix will allow to release movies in theaters, but there's a problem. Since Netflix had a no movies showing the movie theaters policy, I think that's a terrible decision that pretty much the movies released in theaters before releasing on streaming, like Apple TV Plus on Prime Video. It was mostly important that Apple original movies were released in co-financed films. Now lately, that the film got ups and downs. Like um, the Iron Game movie from Universal was probably terrible. It's not as big as successful to Kingsman. And then later, Killers of the Flower Moon was pretty much good. Matters disgracing film was probably people love. And two Sony Pictures films that nobody cares, Napoleon, we discussed Napoleon, was probably kind of not talking about the Stanley Kubrick long rated adaptation that he stuck for the Rebel Hell, but that didn't happen, and especially the Fly Me to the Moon with Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson was didn't match up. And in fact, another film called Wolves, which stars Brad Pitt and Joe Clooney, was originally set in theaters, but after the uh, nef- um, after the movie flops, and especially after the box office failure from the Apple films were releasing that he decided to dump to Apple TV Plus. So yeah, and then F1 saved Apple TV release release strategy, and it become the highest grossing movie of all time, and become for made for Apple TV Plus original movies. So I think that this is not as good as the Top Gun Maverick. Yes, it was the same director, but it stars Brad Pitt, Demian Idris, and of course Javier Bardem. So this is pretty much a turning point, and I think it's gonna be a award season. So in the same way like the Top Gun Maverick, but it's not as good as um, what's it called? Days and Thunder. Yeah, it's better than Thunder. But even Tom Cruise didn't want to do, and it's like to do another a new second sequel of Days of Thunder, like they would talk on Maverick. Instead, Brad Pitt came along. So yeah, I know that the movie is directed by the same director, but I really respect that, and also directed of Tron Legacy. So same and because the sequel Tron Alice will come out, but I'm not going to be seeing this because of Widow Leto and because of Widow Leto situation that's happening on recently. So now I'm not going to be watching. Going to rewatch Fantastic Four MCU movie because Pedro Pascal. That's a way better actor than Widow Leto. So yeah, thank you, Jake Ali, for the inspiration. Anyway, as we're saying that K-pop Demon Hunters become the huge success on Netflix as well as in theaters. We honored with the sing along that Netflix didn't want to do it. Oh, I forgot. Amazon Prime Video. I have for Amazon and GM Studios. And I also mentioned that the release strategy was pretty easy to do. Like I said, um, and also, Prime Video will also have the theatrical distribution. Really before releasing on Prime Video was Amazon NGM Studios, who's becoming the theatrical distribution after Amazon bought NGM in 2012 in 2022 because of all the accents between streaming between on in theaters and Prime Video. He had some movies were gone so sexual, but even not as good as I remember that the films were probably gone to sex. Like the Challengers was probably Luca Guadagnino's film, but I really respect that pretty much in the set showed like things. But it was a tennis film that isn't we did the movie with Kristen Dunst, but and Paul Bettany was it is a movie, but no, that this movie is not related. That it's a better tennis film that people watching Reddit movies that isn't challenges. And so the box office failures that is Red One with Dwayne Johnson, Chris Evans, action comedy movie, holiday movie that nobody cares. This movie's originally set in different dates, but eventually they decide they're releasing 2024, 2 years later, because Warner Brothers, Amazon and GM go with they were releasing movies because of had to do with streaming graphical reality. So yeah, it flopped. But the last but that last couple of films has gone huge, has gone a modest and okay success. The Beekeeper was a David Ayer, Jason Statham action movie, and the Calling 2 was and Ben Affleck. John Veteran's sequel of the original movie from 2016 because originally Warner Brothers set up and distribute the sequel, but however Amazon and GM bought the right to rights along with the August interview with the production company led by Affleck and Matt Damon. But however, Warner Brothers is still involved in the some Akashi between on the street in the beginning of the movie and logo, especially on the international theatrical release of that movie. So yeah, and speaking of that, I think this is the last movie that Warner Brothers distribute. Amazon NGM Studios film was distributed by Warner Brothers internationally before this signed a new deal with Sony Pictures. And the first film was After the Hunt, was a director of the Luca Guadagnino's Challengers. So look at the Googles, who did the last film, Challengers, and stars one of the actors like Andrew Garfield and Julia Roberts. So it's going to be another award season, but I hope to see what happens. So yeah, and other films including the Crime 101 and Project Hail Mary with Ryan Gosling. So does that. So I probably know the streaming strategy and release in theaters, but except for Netflix, he didn't want to release in theaters specifically, mostly in the per kind of audience. Now, streaming strategy was probably become different. Like, oh, Netflix would move away to do release movies in theaters because more like a different kind of films. So there's K-pop Demon Hunters were recently on Netflix with the sing-along version. So that's not what we're talking about. But I would pretty know that Netflix will want to talk about. So according to WarnerReel.com, it said this: with the August deals with the big movies, theater owners are lobbying hard for Netflix to extend K-pop Demon Hunters for another week for showing. Sadly, the streaming gave them the middle finger. It's not happening. Yeah, yeah. Um, Yes, despite K-pop Demon Hunter said out of 130,000 screamers nationwide, only showing as Saturday and Sundays, without burning any marketing, no AMC appreciation, and earning the top spot at the box office at $20 million. Netflix had decided to that wasn't enough. The streamer made the sing-along version, which is played for Latitude, already to watch at the platform starting today, which is yesterday. Historically, this should become as much of a surprise. Netflix has reset long theatrical window, and despite the demand hasn't been undeniable, don't care. Their long game isn't turning movie going to the republic of the past. Prior to the K-pop, Netflix had never had a number one movie at the box office, either the domestic and globally. Under the traditional theatrical model, for 2 weeks, Weapons, yes, is from Warner Brothers' New Line Cinema movie, with director of Barbarian, Zach Cooper, and as well as stars like Julia Garner and Josh Brolin. Yeah, 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 and it's probably I'm gonna see him next someday. So yeah, held the crown, but they insulated one $15 million and finished in the second place. For Netflix, it's not a fair win. The company has spent the years constantly subscribers to think of streaming as an only destination for the new release. This goes against everything their company wants to push. For Netflix, isn't the business of making movie going look good. They're in the business of making movie going eliminated. The ironic, of course, is that Netflix exceeds something most traditional studios will kill for. The generate grassroots box office phenomenon, yet the company own philosophy prevents it from celebrating. For then Anoxy's the win undermines their long-term strategy that didn't even approach the actual numbers K-pop made this weekend. Others has had to ask exhibitors for the numbers. So instead of celebrating an expected $20 million prime month, Netflix had treated K-pop Demon Hunters like an inconsiderate success. The message, the message is clear. Even when the movies top of the box office, then downplay it because the real victory that for them is in the ticket sales and keeping you glued to the platform. Well, yeah. So is a reason that movies take it seriously more to box office, even the release in theaters before streaming. As I mentioned, Apple TV Plus and Prime Video, but Netflix didn't have to do it. I mean, you haven't released in limited had the movies in limited theaters like Manchester Tracy, The Irish Hunter, uh, David Fincher's Mank, and even The Killer, as well as a couple Hunter Gonzalez movies. First, I know he's Spanish, but whatever. As well as the Russo brothers, The Gray Man, with Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans, of course. It was a pretty much action debut film that really was inspiration tie-in series with Pacific Coppola, but it's on Prime Video, but I digress. And so the new, as well as the sequel to Nights Off, what's it called? Glass Onion, Nights Off Mystery. So yeah, I know that the movies exceed at the box office and handle release in theaters and limited release, but the thing is, movies that take you seriously as a filmmaker. Like I know, like movies have gone to sex and even released in theaters, but I also rumored that Greta Gerwig's Narnia movie will be released in theaters in for with IMAX theatrical release. Even though the Netflix didn't want like to say, oh, we'll release in Netflix instead of theaters because people love that. But no, yeah, because no, we keep the Narnia movie in theatrical release. We're having a deal with Sony Pictures, but for TriStar Pictures, but I'm not sure the same goes we did with distribution K-pop Demon Hunters. So I hope so, but if K-pop Demon Hunters expanded theatrical in global market and especially in Korea, because I know that this movie K-pop Demon Hunters was become popular in some places for all the K-pop stands. Mostly back in, and you know the 50 years ago, actually 80 years ago or 17 whatever, in 2012 when the awards should be giving at the end because Psy came along with the hit song Gangnam Style, which broke everything in the global market, mostly in Korea and non-Koreans. That was beginning known as the new K-pop phenomenon because everyone was doing dancing and the most and even the YouTube and the music video become huge on YouTube. So that's the reason I think the K-pop phenomenon already began with it later with such acts as BTS, Stray Boys, and of course Blackpink, along others. But I hope to know that the K-pop. I listened to K-pop music back in the day. I listened to a couple K-pop songs are pop on YouTube, and it's just mostly in bands we're familiar with. I love anything that Korean pop was become different than J-pop. Like Korean pop is more important. So I really love K-pop so much. It is one of the biggest music genres in between worldwide. Not as good as Arabic, Turkish, or Spanish, or even French, or even other country, Italy or Germany, you name it. But still, I would, and especially in the Nordic countries like Sweden, Norway, uh, Norwegian, Finnish, and Finland and Denmark were pretty bit different. Like the pop music is probably no Swedish pop was probably no the Slager. You've seen the Melody Festivalen petitions, which you've seen become to Eurovision. So yeah, that's really no. This music genre will become popular mostly in the worldwide and not in America. So yeah, the reason that movie was become popular for the mostly children never heard K-pop or people heard about K-pop. So yeah, that's when I think Netflix are winning between release in theaters and later on in between and streaming on Netflix. So that's winning. But I hope similar vein like Apple and Prime Video from Apple Original Movies and Amazon MGM Studios. But should be more known that I hope to see what happened next, and even Netflix to continue releasing trafficking between on in theaters and later stream on Netflix. And there's a movie when the director of Concave, Edward Bergen, was working on the next movie called The Battle of the Small Player, stars Colin Farrell because they came out at the same time as another movie that he starred in along with Margot Robbie called A Bold Beautiful um, Journey. I don't know what it is, but that's from Sony Pictures. But the Bald Small Player was close second. But I hope it's the release before and after releasing the A Big Beautiful Journey, like in a different movie. But I know this is a back to back movie starring Colin Farrell, but whatever. This is a fresh off the Emmy nominated performance in the as Pigment from the HBO pregnancy the pregnant pregnant series. Like I can't pronounce that. What are you doing? Anyway, this movie is releasing in October in limited release, and then eventually straight release in on Netflix. Later this that month because Halloween, of course. But this is not a Halloween movie. It's more like a drama film in the vein like movies from like say Casino by Martin Scorsese. So, but better. So yeah, let's see what happens. But it also that's what of course Narnia movie was getting the IMAX theatrical release in some places, but we'll see what happens. It might be partnership agreement with Sony Pictures. Who knows? But I am excited for that. So, and since the K-pop Demon Hunters become a huge successful and become the franchise franchise, there's going to be a spin-off movies and especially a live action movie of that anime movie, like did with the How to Train Dragon movie for Universal and DreamWorks because it worked. Because it's pretty much that it did receive good reviews, but it's decent enough in the box office. But I know that live action and movies based on anime remakes, mostly from Disney, was probably not so well. Even especially that the woke live action remake of Snow White uh, didn't match a box office, especially the negative feedback, and especially the director of the Mark Webb, the director of the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Seriously. Anyway, um, so yeah, I'm excited for that. If Netflix continue with releasing movies, but it might be released in theaters. No, they're pretty much having no theater policy, so it might release in theaters. Then later on stream, then later after the theaters, we for Netflix world, we're straight to releasing on Netflix. Who knows? But we'll see what happens. So that's the video for today. I'm so glad K-pop Demon Hunters broke out in the Netflix no theater policy. So that's no. So there's that. So we'll see what's going on next. But I hope so. But a couple of films, including the Ballad of a Small Player, and especially Greta Gerwig's Narnia movie. So it received the IMAX theatrical release, but who knows? But what are you thinking about that? Let me know in the comments below, and tell me why Netflix didn't have to do with releasing movies, but not in theaters, but in rather streaming smartphone on Netflix. So yeah, that's so. Let me know what's it. Let me know in the comments and like, comment, subscribe, share your friends. And don't forget, ring a notification bell, and I'll see you guys in my next video. And until then, K-pop stands for life.